The bustling restaurant hummed with chatter, the clinking of glasses, and the faint melody of a live jazz band in the background. A woman in a simple dress walked in, her eyes scanning for a seat. But before she could settle in, the manager, a stiff-looking man in a pristine suit, stormed toward her. "Excuse me, ma'am, but this isn't the kind of place for loitering," he sneered, eyeing her modest outfit with disdain. The woman's eyes widened. "I was just looking for a table," the manager scoffed. "We have a dress code. And besides, this is an upscale restaurant. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable somewhere. Less elegant." Snickers rose from a nearby table. A group of wealthy patrons watched with amused expressions. The woman, visibly embarrassed, lowered her gaze. Then, from the corner of the room, a man whispered to his friend, "Wait, isn't that—" But before he could finish, the restaurant manager smirked and waved her away. "I suggest you leave before I call security." The woman hesitated, then turned on her heel and walked out. What the manager didn't know, she was one of the most famous singers in the country, and she was about to give them a show they'd never forget. Outside the restaurant, the woman took a deep breath, pushing down the sting of humiliation. She wasn't one to make a scene, but something about this moment felt different. She pulled out her phone and made a quick call. "Hey Tony, change of plans. I need you to bring the band to La Royale. Now." Meanwhile, inside the restaurant, the manager strutted back to his post, feeling smug. The wealthy diners continued their conversations, unfazed by the incident. That's when a waiter rushed up to him. "Sir, I think we made a mistake." "What now?" The manager groaned. The waiter gulped. "That woman. She's Zariah Kane." Silence. The name sent a chill through the manager. Zariah Kane? The Zariah Kane? The global R&B icon. The woman who had sold out stadiums, won countless awards, and whose voice could silence an entire crowd with a single note? "That's impossible," the manager scoffed. "What would someone like her be doing here, dressed like that?" But just as he said it, the lights in the restaurant dimmed. The jazz band in the corner had stopped playing. Instead, a different set of musicians took their place, musicians the manager didn't recognize. Then, the front door swung open. Zariah walked back in. This time, she didn't hesitate. She strode straight to the center of the restaurant, microphone in hand. The murmurs grew louder as people realized who she was. Phones came out. Cameras started recording. She lifted the mic to her lips. "Good evening, everyone," she said smoothly, her voice dripping with confidence. "I was going to have dinner here tonight, but I was told I didn't belong." A few gasps rippled through the crowd. "But you know what? I think I'll stay a little longer." With a nod to the band, the music swelled. Then, Zariah Kane began to sing. As Zariah Kane's voice filled the restaurant, the atmosphere shifted instantly. Conversation stopped. Forks and glasses froze midair. The sultry, velvety notes wrapped around the room like a spell, captivating everyone in its grasp. She wasn't just singing, she was commanding. Every word dripped with emotion, effortlessly flowing over the melody. The band, clearly professionals, followed her lead seamlessly, elevating the performance to something out of a dream. Even the snobbish diners, who moments ago had barely glanced at her, were now on the edges of their seats, their expressions filled with awe. The restaurant manager, frozen near the bar, turned pale. He had just thrown out one of the greatest vocalists of their time. A couple of waiters exchanged wide-eyed looks. "Is this really happening?" one whispered. One of the elite guests, a well-dressed man in his 60s, leaned toward the manager. "Do you have any idea who she is?" he hissed. The manager stammered, sweat forming on his brow. I didn't realize," but it was too late for apologies. The performance soared into its climax. Zariah hit a high note so effortlessly powerful that it sent shivers down spines. A few people clapped mid-song, unable to contain their excitement. By the time she finished, the entire room erupted into thunderous applause. People stood. Chairs scraped the floor. Diners who once ignored her were now whistling and cheering like they were at a concert. Zariah let the moment sink in. Then, she leaned into the microphone one last time. "I hope the food here is as good as the company." The crowd chuckled at the subtle jab. Then, she turned on her heel and walked out. The moment she left, the restaurant manager bolted after her. "Miss Kane, please, wait!" Zariah paused at the curb, her car waiting for her. She turned slowly, raising an eyebrow. The manager swallowed hard. I didn't know who you were. If you had, she interrupted coolly. "You would have treated me with respect?" he stammered, unable to find the right words. "Here's the thing," she continued. "Respect isn't just for the people you think are important. It's for everyone." With that, she slipped into her car, leaving the manager standing there, humiliated, as the world around him buzzed with the realization that he had just made the biggest mistake of his career. Because by morning, the entire internet would know about it. By the time Zariah Kane's car pulled away from the restaurant, the damage had already been done. A few diners had recorded the entire ordeal, the humiliation, the breathtaking performance, the manager's desperate attempt to backtrack. And in the age of social media, all it took was one viral clip to set the internet on fire. Superstar singer Zariah Kane kicked out of an elite restaurant. Manager instantly regrets it. The video spread like wildfire. Within hours, it was shared by influencers, music blogs, and even major news networks. The hashtag #Justice for Zariah trended worldwide. Fans flooded the restaurant's social media with outrage. How dare they treat a legend like this? Another case of judging people by their appearance. Disgusting. Zariah's voice gave me chills. That manager should be fired. And just when things couldn't get worse for the restaurant, Zariah herself spoke out. She didn't post an angry rant or demand an apology. Instead, she simply reshared the video with a short caption. "Respect isn't a privilege, it's a basic human right." The class in her response only made people angrier on her behalf. Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, the manager sat in his office, refreshing the comments in horror. The business's Yelp and Google ratings were plummeting. Reservations were being canceled left and right. Reporters were calling non-stop. The restaurant owner, a powerful businessman, stormed in, his face red with fury. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he growled. The manager gulped. "Sir, save it. Damage control, now. Fix this or you're out." With trembling hands, the manager drafted a public apology, hoping to undo the disaster. But it was too late. The world had already chosen sides. And this time, justice was on Zariah's. The restaurant's official social media account posted a lengthy apology, claiming the incident was a misunderstanding and that they were deeply sorry for any offense caused. But the damage had already been done. Comments flooded in immediately. Too little, too late. If she wasn't famous, would you have apologized? Y'all didn't misunderstand. You just didn't recognize her talent until it was too late. Meanwhile, Zariah Kane remained graceful in the face of the controversy. She refused to fan the flames of the public outrage, but also did not defend the restaurant. Instead, she focused on her music, which only fueled the public's admiration for her. Her streaming numbers skyrocketed. People rediscovered her old albums, and even record labels reached out, eager to collaborate. Concert tickets that had been selling steadily suddenly became impossible to find. The restaurant, on the other hand, faced the full force of the backlash. Customers boycotted, influencers blacklisted them, and even food critics withdrew their reviews. Within a month, the restaurant that once prided itself on exclusivity found itself struggling to fill tables. But the biggest consequence came for the manager. The owner had no choice but to take action. In an attempt to salvage the restaurant's reputation, he fired the manager publicly. A formal statement was released, explaining that the company does not condone discrimination and that necessary steps have been taken to ensure this never happens again. The former manager, now jobless and shunned, tried to fight back by giving interviews, claiming that people had twisted the story. But no one was willing to listen. As for Zariah, she had moved on. In a poetic twist, she was invited to perform at an exclusive gala, a high-profile event attended by celebrities, business moguls, and even the very same elite crowd that once doubted her. This time, no one ignored her. As she stood on stage, microphone in hand, she smiled, knowing that talent would always shine brighter than prejudice. And as her voice soared through the room, filling every corner with pure, undeniable power, she proved to the world, once and for all, that true talent could never be silenced.